Sorry, I turned it off. Good evening and welcome to Crawley Borough Council's Cabinet of the 14th of January. I'm Councillor Michael Jones, Leader of the Council and Chair of the Cabinet. There are no scheduled fire drills tonight, so in the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the main entrance, via the main spiral staircase and through the main reception doors. Once outside, please turn left and make your way to the fire assembly point located beyond the multi-storey car park on Exchange Road. If you're unable to use the stairs, please wait in the council chamber and you'll be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. This meeting has been live streamed via the council's YouTube channel. Please note that there is a no comments function available as part of this webcasting. The council is a data controller and will retain the data collected during this webcast. This will be done so in accordance with the council's published data retention policy. Any members of the public seated in the public gallery should be aware that by entering the chamber, they are consenting to their image being captured by the automated camera system. Recordings will be used for webcasting and/or training purposes. Councillors are reminded to take note of what is displayed on the screens in the room as it shows what is being recorded and webcast. Cameras are currently set to capture you in seated positions, so please remain seated when speaking. You can request to speak as usual in committees by raising your hand. To speak, press the button with a face on it and the microphone will go green when you are live. We will now commence with apologies for absence. Have we received any apologies for absence, Chris?
No apologies, Chair.
I didn't think so. Does any member have any disclosures of interests? Before you answer that, I've been asked to read the following statement. Whilst the Cabinet is deciding on the Council's consultation response, but not the ultimate decision whether to continue with or postpone the elections, which is a central government decision, the monitoring officer has provided dispensation to Councillor Yasmin Khan, whose term of office is due to end in May 2026, due to a perceivable disclosable pecuniary interest arising from Councillors' allowances to enable Councillor Yasmin Khan to fully participate in the debate and for voting. This dispensation is made under Section 33 of the Localism Act 2011 on the grounds that it was considered in the public interest to allow full debate and decision making and any other reasons as set out in Section 33 of the Localism Act. This dispensation is granted for this meeting only, Councillor Khan. We now move to public question time. Oh, sorry, are there any other declarations of interest? I see none. Public question time we now move on to. We have 15 minutes of public question time. Are there any members of the public wishing to ask a question? No. Thank you. In that case, we'll move on to the next item. We will now consider the Borough Elections 2026 report. This is set out in report CEX/074 of the Chief Executive. I will now introduce the report and the views expressed at the full council meeting, which happened earlier this evening. As I said earlier, Cabinet, although full council has spoken and has decided that they wish us to write to the government and request a postponement, it is clear we do not make the final choice. That is still down to the government. I understand that not all members of the Cabinet shared that same conclusion, but I believe that we must now respect that indication as the settled view of this council and send the appropriate letter to government. Even though we are saying we do not wish to proceed with elections in May, it is important to dispel some myths that without these there is going to be some kind of long-term democratic deficit. Aside from elections in May, in a year's time, in 2027, there will be all-out elections to the new unitary authority that will replace this one, not just one-thirds. If the consultation remains positive, we will also have elections to the new Crawley Town Council that, through the ongoing community governance review, we may well be bringing into existence. The following year, 2028, is likely to be the election for the Mayor of Sussex. There is going to be no shortage of opportunities to vote, and it is a fairly extraordinary achievement, if that is what it can be described, that people out there have been able to get the impression otherwise. I do hope that those in government reflect on how this public perception has been allowed to take hold and what they could do to dispel it in the future. I also want to compare how we have reached our decision with the Conservative leadership of the County Council's approach. Even after May, I'll remind the Cabinet, 2/3 of the councillors on the Borough Council retain their mandate, as opposed to the county councillors whose terms of office have all now expired. Our decision, unlike theirs, was done in public with a democratic vote of councillors. And with this meeting, we gave every councillor the chance to express a choice, not a unilateral decision made by me or the Cabinet. This will be the first time and not the second time for a request for postponement, unlike the County Council. This Cabinet meeting is merely to confirm the letter that has to be sent to the Secretary of State in response to his letter. The full Council's view is clear. It is to my great disappointment that despite the majority of Labour councillors present supporting elections to proceed, the majority of Conservative councillors voting for a postponement has flipped the result. I do not agree with the conclusion, but I believe that the Cabinet has an obligation to honour the will of councillors. It would be inconsistent to say we want to be democratic, but then to ignore the outcome of a vote. If we follow the recommendations tonight, the Cabinet will delegate the precise final wording of the letter to me to submit tomorrow that accurately reflects the choice expressed by full council earlier. Ian, are there any further points you wish to add as Chief Exec?
No, Leader, I think that covers the outcome of the debate.
Thank you. I will now invite Councillor Crowe as the Leader of the Opposition if he wishes to speak on the report.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. You may recall when we had the extraordinary full council meeting to decide on what option this council supported for a unitary authority. This council voted for the two unitary authorities as its preference for West Sussex. And even though that's not how I voted, I came to that Cabinet meeting and I said that the Cabinet should respect the will of the full council. And I am consistent now, regardless of had the vote gone a different way at full council, I would be saying exactly the same thing, that we should respect the will of the full council. And I welcome the Leader's comments that it is clear that he intends to do that, even while he personally disagrees with it. I think it's a little bit shame to start sort of trying to actually blame as to how the vote has gone, but nevertheless we are where we are. I did like the comment from Councillor Chris Mullins during the full council about debate, how it isn't going to be important how we do work together to get the best for Crawley. You know, we need to be fighting Crawley's corner. We don't know what outcome we're going to have as a new unitary authority. We're going to be having different political parties that we're not used to seeing in Crawley, who potentially could be controlling that unitary authority, and we need to be fighting Crawley's corner together, and we need to make sure that we get the best going into that unitary authority for Crawley. Finally, I want to just correct something that the Leader has said about how the County Council went about deciding their decision as to what they recommended around elections. That was a decision taken by Cabinet, which included myself. Therefore, I need to declare a personal and non-prejudicial interest as a member of that Cabinet of West Sussex County Council. Cabinet did that at a public Cabinet meeting in both elections, and while it did not go to full council, I can tell you that it did have the support of the Conservative group, which is the large majority group at the County Council. So I just wanted to clarify that it was not done behind closed doors. And of course, the County Council is delivering devolution as well, so that the case is even stronger there for deferral. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. I think at that point I'll open the debate now to other Cabinet members. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Sue Mullins.
First of all, I'd like to give praise to both leaders on both sides of the chamber for giving us the opportunity to each individually think about, debate and decide for ourselves what we thought was the best way forward in the interests of the people of Crawley. I think that was a really good debate that we had in the full council. Everyone had a chance to express their views and to give really considered views. And the fact that it's recorded and that people in the chamber could hear how each member spoke and how honest they were with their feelings and the reasons they've made those decisions, I think that's to be respected, and therefore I respect both sides of the chamber for what's happened over the last couple of hours. Going forward, as Councillor Crowe has said, it's really important that we go forward together to make sure that we get the absolute best result for the people of Crawley, for our residents in the future. We've got a long history, a long legacy to pass on, and we need to make sure that that is passed on in the best way possible. And I'm really glad as well to hear Councillor Crowe talking in a positive way now about a town council. I know it was not necessarily what he wanted originally, but now it's on its way. I'm looking forward to the support from his side of the chamber to make sure that we get the best town council we can as well. We don't know what that's going to look like. It's all in the mixing pot at the moment of what that's going to look like, what responsibilities we have, what control we will have, what we will be able to do into the future. But it's really important that we all work together to get the very best for our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sue Mullins. Any other comments from members of the Cabinet? I think I see Councillor Hilton. Councillor Hilton? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it was a very interesting debate. In terms of working together for future, I look forward to that. It's we won't, as long as people don't worry about not having the cost of a referendum, and I think if we can work together in the town council, we can show that democracy is still strong and people want a real voice within Crawley. So I think we can move on from that. In terms of my position on the cabinet, I do respect the wishes of the full council, so I won't be voting against not carrying on with election. I won't be voting in favour of postponing it. I won't go against the recommendation of full council. However, partly because I'm still not absolutely convinced that the arguments for, in terms of the criteria laid down by the Minister and the Secretary of State, have not been made, I will be planning to abstain tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. I now pass on to Councillor Chris Mullins and then Councillor Ian Irvine after him.
Thank you, Leader. I think I've experienced something different tonight. Certainly to what I'm used to, but certainly I can't really recall anything quite like it historically in my mind. And that was an open and honest debate. Everybody using their individual thoughts on it and coming to individual conclusions, which gave us a whole conclusion at the end. Whatever way that would have gone, I could sit there and I was just drawing lines on a bit of paper when people went one way or the other, and I didn't know what way it would come out. So it was quite an interesting experience, and I think that I also, like Sue, would thank the two leaders for coming to the conclusion it should be a free vote. It was a very interesting vote as well. I think that on the point of the future now, I would like to think that we can build on the way tonight worked and see what best deals we can get in the situation we're facing for Crawley residents and the facilities that historically this town, no matter who was running it actually over the years, this town and the services that they've historically delivered to the people of Crawley. I think it's very important that those things are protected and that we don't go into some sort of strange ideology from other parties. So we need to pull together and be forceful in what we've got to do. I think it's an enormous amount of work there. And when you think about the detail, and I feel a bit sorry for the officers because they're going to have a horrendous job pulling all this together. It's going to be a big lot of work. But we've got to get the best out of it for Crawley residents, Leader. And that's what my ambition will be as I come to the end of my political career.
Not yet, Councillor Mullins, not yet. But Councillor Ian Irvine. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I realise that I'm in a slightly privileged position tonight by having two votes, although you could also argue that's an unenviable position. because it does rather put me on the horns of a dilemma, because on the one hand, obviously, having taken part in the debate and voted, I feel that I ought to respect the indication from the council or how they want us to respond to this, but of course that indication isn't binding. It's not a mandate on us. On the other hand, personally, I haven't really heard any arguments that convince me that the election should be postponed. So on that basis, Chair, I think that I should be joining Councillor Hilton in the abstention lobby. And I also wonder if the Chief Executive possibly advised, if he knows when we might actually get an indication from the Secretary of State of whether this matter is going to be decided by them.
Ian?
There was no indication of a specific date. I've heard as early in February as possible, but I haven't heard anything more solid than that, so I'm afraid I can't advise any further.
Thank you. Well, any other speakers? I don't see any, in which case we'll move on to the recommendations. So I move that the Cabinet agrees to delegate to myself, the Leader of the Council, to respond in writing to the Minister of State for Local Government and Homelessness, Alison McGovern, stating the resolution of the full Council. Let me just say something before saying the resolution of full Council. So before I complete the recommendation, I just want to say that I'm a Democrat, and sometimes when there's a vote, you have to comply with the will of the majority on things that you don't necessarily agree with. That is how representative democracy works. And in this case, I know there will be disappointment, but I promised at the very beginning of this that I would give a free vote to at least members on one side of the chamber and give every councillor a vote. And I feel honour bound to follow that through. And so that is what I will be doing now. So I will start again. On the recommendation, I move that the Cabinet agrees to delegate to myself, the Leader of the Council, to respond in writing to the Minister of State for Local Government and Homelessness, Alison McGovern, stating the resolution of the full Council, that being in favour that borough elections in 2026 should be postponed, as Crawley's Borough Council's response to her letter dated the 18th of December regarding the potential postponement of the May 2026 borough elections. Can I have a seconder for this proposal? Thank you, Councillor Mullins, Chris Mullins. Is that agreed, or would the Cabinet like a vote on this? I think I'll take a vote then. All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you, councillors. That's noted. Carried by 5 votes to 3 abstentions. So on that basis, supplemental agenda, there is no supplementary agenda. With the business of the Cabinet, the 14th of January concluded, the meeting is now closed at 9:37 p.m. Now I wish everyone watching, and indeed members of the public and members of the council and officers, a very restful rest of your evening. Good night.